The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a deep hum that echoed through the crystalline walls. 5 beings walked through the entrance, each one representing the most powerful military forces in the known galaxy. Their footsteps clicked and scraped against the polished floor as they made their way to the circular table at the center of the room. The chamber itself was a wonder to see. The walls were made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing star maps and fleet positions across thousands of worlds. The ceiling stretched high above them, decorated with the symbols of the 5 great empires. Everything in this room spoke of power, technology, and control over the galaxy. Admiral Zixthara of the Zephyrian hegemony was the first to take her seat. Her insect-like body gleamed under the chamber lights. Her forearms moved with quick, sharp motions as she activated her personal data display. Her compound eyes reflected the blue glow from the walls as she looked around the table. The Zephyrians had ruled the eastern spiral arm for over 3,000 years. Their biomechanical ships could heal themselves in battle, growing new armor and weapons as they fought. General Gorthik the Render followed behind her. The massive reptilian warrior had to duck slightly to fit through the doorway. His thick scales were scarred from countless battles, and his yellow eyes gleamed with the hunger for war. The Gorthik Empire controlled the savage outer rim worlds where only the strongest survived. Their ships were not built but grown, living creatures bred specifically for combat. Each vessel had teeth, claws, and the ability to bite through enemy. Hulls. Commander Velturis of the Valdris Confederation floated into the room next. His body was made of pure energy contained within a shimmering force field. Blue and white light danced around his form as he moved. The Valdris had evolved beyond physical matter centuries ago. Their ships were constructed from plasma and light itself, able to phase through solid objects and strike without warning. Their weapons could melt entire asteroids in seconds. The Morvian collective entered as one, though their representative appeared to be a single being. Node leader Kessara looked like a tall, pale humanoid, but she was connected to billions of other Morvian minds across the galaxy. Her black eyes showed no individual thought, only the collective will of her entire species. The Morvians built modular ships that could combine and separate at will. 1,000 small vessels could become one massive battle station in minutes. Finally, strategist Thander of the Veshan Dominion took his place at the table. The ancient being moved slowly, his gray skin marked with glowing tattoos that pulsed with each heartbeat. The Veshans were the oldest spacefaring race in the galaxy. Their ships were powered by controlled black holes, and their weapons could bend space and time itself. They had been conquering worlds when the other races were still learning to make fire. Zixthara's mandibles clicked together as she began the meeting. Welcome, fellow rulers of the galaxy. Today we discuss the final expansion of our territories. The last unclaimed sectors await our fleets. Her voice had a buzzing quality that made the other beings shift uncomfortably. Gorthik slammed his clawed fist on the table, leaving deep scratches in the metal surface. Enough talk, show us these new hunting grounds. My war beasts grow restless without fresh prey to devour. Saliva dripped from his fangs as he spoke. Veltura's energy form flickered with amusement. Patience, primitive one. Let us see what worlds are worth claiming. Light swirled around his hands as he activated the main holographic display. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared above the table. Most of it was colored in the 5 shades representing each empire. Only a small section near the edge remained white, unclaimed by any of the great powers. Node-leader Shesara spoke with the voice of billions. The collective observed 17 star systems in this region. Most contain primitive species not yet capable of faster-than-light travel. They pose no threat to our expansion. Thander's ancient eyes studied the display carefully. Interesting. These worlds have been ignored for good reason. They are far from major trade routes and contain limited resources. Why do we concern ourselves with such insignificant territory? Zixthara's compound eyes glittered. Because, Old One, even the smallest unclaimed space represents a challenge to our authority. These systems contain over 30 billion primitive beings. That is 30 billion potential slaves for our empires. The holographic display zoomed in on one particular star system. A yellow star with several planets orbited peacefully, unaware of the 5 predators planning their destruction. The third planet from the star showed green and blue colors, indicating a world full of life. This system is called Sol, Zixthara continued. The dominant species calls itself human. They achieved primitive spaceflight only 200 years ago and developed faster-than-light travel just 50 years past. Their technology is laughably simple compared to ours. Gorthik leaned forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over the table. What weapons do these humans possess? Can they provide sport for my warriors? The Zephyrian admiral's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. They use crude chemical explosives and primitive energy weapons. Their ships are made of simple metal alloys. A single one of our bioships could destroy their entire fleet without sustaining damage. Velturus pulsed brighter with excitement. Their energy output is minimal. Our plasma cannons generate more power in 1 second than their entire civilization. Uses in a year? It would be like crushing insects beneath our feet. The Morvian representative tilted her head as if listening to distant voices. The collective has observed their communication networks. They are divided into hundreds of separate nations that constantly fight among themselves. They cannot unite even to defend their own world. Thander stroked his chin thoughtfully. Still, we should not dismiss any species entirely. Even the weakest prey can surprise a careless predator. Gorthik roared with laughter, a sound that made the crystal walls vibrate. You grow soft in your old age, Theshan. These mammals have no fangs, no claws, no natural weapons. They are prey animals pretending to be hunters? The holographic display shifted to show images of human technology. Primitive rockets, basic energy shields, and simple projectile weapons appeared in the air above them. Compared to the advanced systems of the 5 empires, human technology looked like stone tools. Zixthara gestured toward the images with one of her 4 arms. Observe their so-called warships. Metal boxes with chemical thrusters and kinetic weapons. They cannot even generate a proper energy shield. Our bioships heal faster than their weapons can cause damage. Another image appeared showing a human space station. The structure was clearly built from separate modules connected together, a far cry from the seamless biomechanical constructions of the Zephians or the living vessels of the Korthek. Look at this pathetic attempt at space construction, Velturus said, his energy form flickering with disdain. Crude welds, exposed conduits, inefficient design. Our ships are works of art compared to this scrap metal. Node leader Kesar's black eyes reflected the holographic light. The collective estimates complete conquest of human space within 30 standard days. Their divided nature makes them incapable of coordinated resistance. Thander studied the human technology with the patience that came from millennia of experience. Their designs do show a certain practicality, simple but functional. Perhaps there is something to be learned from such efficiency. The other 4 representatives turned to stare at him. Gorthik's yellow eyes narrowed dangerously. You suggest we learn from prey animals? Have you lost your mind along with your strength, Old One? The Theshan strategist raised one hand calmly. I merely observe that survival often requires adaptation. These humans have survived and expanded despite their limitations. That suggests a certain resourcefulness. Zixthara's mandibles clicked impatiently. Resourcefulness means nothing against superior firepower. One Zephyrian bioship carries more weapons than their entire planetary defense grid. We could conquer their homeworld with a single vessel. The holographic display showed a new image, human soldiers in combat armor. Their equipment looked primitive compared to the advanced battlesuits of the 5 empires. Simple projectile weapons, basic protective gear, and crude communication devices. Gorthik examined the human warriors with a predator's eye. Weak creatures hiding behind metal shells. My Korthak warriors fight with fang and claw. These humans would break like twigs in close combat. Valterus pulsed with amusement. They still use solid projectiles as weapons. Our energy shields can deflect such primitive attacks without effort. It would be like fighting with throwing stones. The Morvian representative tilted her head again, listening to the collective consciousness. Analysis complete. Human military doctrine relies on individual heroics rather than coordinated tactics. They lack the unity necessary for effective large-scale warfare. Thander continued to study the images carefully. Something about the human designs bothered him, though he could not identify what. Their technology was clearly inferior, but there was an underlying logic to their approach that suggested deeper thinking. Perhaps we should consider dividing their territory between our empires, Zixthara suggested. The conquest will be so simple that we might as well make it profitable for all of us. The other representatives considered this proposal. The human systems were not particularly valuable, but conquering them would demonstrate the power of the 5 empires to the rest of the galaxy. Gorthic's scarred face twisted into a grin that showed rows of sharp teeth. I claim the right to attack their homeworld first. My war beasts need fresh blood to taste. The collective objects, Node Leader Kassara stated flatly. Morvian forces are better suited for planetary conquest. We will swarm their defenses. With superior numbers, Valterus flickered brighter. Both of your approaches are too crude. Valdris plasma weapons can sterilize their worlds from a safe distance. Clean, efficient, artistic? Zixthara's compound eyes shifted to look at each of her rivals. The hegemony has the strongest claim to this territory. Our bioships are already patrolling the border regions. We discovered these humans first. The 5 beings began to argue among themselves, each claiming the right to destroy humanity. Their voices rose as they debated who had the strongest military, the best weapons, and the most legitimate claim to conquest. Finally, Thander raised his hand for silence. The ancient Theshan's voice carried the weight of millennia when he spoke. We waste time with petty squabbles. Let us each take a portion of human space. There are enough worlds for all 5 empires. To claim territory, the others considered this wisdom. Sharing the conquest would prevent conflict between the allies and still demonstrate their collective power. Zixthara activated the star map again. Very well. We shall divide their systems equally. Each empire will claim 6 star systems, and we will assault their territory simultaneously. The humans will face the combined might of the galaxy's greatest powers. The meeting concluded with the 5 representatives planning their attack routes and choosing their target systems. They discussed logistics, supply lines, and the placement of occupation forces after the conquest. Not once did any of them consider the possibility that the humans might resist successfully. As the beings prepared to leave the chamber, Thander lingered to study the human technology one final time. Something about their simple, practical designs continued to trouble him. But he dismissed his concerns as the caution of old age and followed the others toward the exit. The great doors closed behind them with a final echo through the crystal walls. The holographic displays faded to darkness, leaving only the soft blue glow of the living walls. In 30 days, 5 massive fleets would converge on human space, confident in their technological superiority and certain of easy victory. None of them realized they were about to encounter something their advanced civilizations had forgotten how to do, learn from their enemies. 3 weeks after the meeting in the Galactic Council chamber, the first alien scout ships began appearing at the edges of human space. The Zephyrium bioships emerged from faster-than-light travel like living nightmares, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. Gorthic war beasts dropped out of hyperspace with roars that could be heard through the vacuum of space itself. Valdris plasma vessels materialized as balls of contained starfire. Morvian scout formations appeared in perfect geometric patterns. Theshan singularity ships bent space around them as they arrived. The aliens expected to find panicked human vessels fleeing in terror. Instead, they discovered something they had not anticipated. The humans were ready for them. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the sensor displays with calm eyes. Her ship was one of 12 human vessels patrolling the outer rim of the Sol system. When the first alien contacts appeared on her screens, she did not panic or call for immediate retreat. Instead, she activated her ship's recording systems and opened a communication channel to Earth. "Command, this is Defiant. We have contact with unknown vessels. Beginning first contact protocols." Her voice was steady and professional. Behind her, the bridge crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. The alien ships moved toward the human patrol with obvious confidence. The Zephyrian bioship was the first to engage. Its living hull rippled as weapon ports opened like blooming flowers. Streams of bioplasma shot toward the Defiant. Expecting to cripple the primitive human vessel with the first volley, Sarah's ship shuddered under the impact, but the shields held. "Interesting," she said quietly to her tactical officer. "Their weapons use organic compounds. Make sure you record the energy signatures and plasma composition." The tactical officer, Lieutenant Martinez, nodded as his fingers flew over his console. "Recording everything, Captain. Their plasma has a distinctive bioelectric field pattern. Might be vulnerable to electromagnetic interference." The Zephyrian commander was surprised that the human ship survived the first attack. Through his bioship's organic communication system, he sent a message to the human vessel. "Primitive mammals, you will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Your crude technology cannot stand against hegemony bioships." Sarah activated her external speakers. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Chun of the United Earthship Defiant. We are conducting peaceful exploration in this region. Please state your intentions." The alien commander's mandibles clicked with amusement. These humans actually thought they could negotiate. "Our intentions are conquest, mammals. Your species will serve the hegemony or be eliminated." As the bioship prepared for another attack, Sarah made a decision that would save humanity. Instead of fighting to the death or fleeing in panic, she ordered a tactical withdrawal. But this was not the retreat of a beaten enemy. This was something far more dangerous. "All stations, begin recording Protocol 7, Sarah commanded. "I want detailed scans of their ship's biomechanical systems, weapon frequencies, and regeneration. Rates, Martinez, launch probe clusters along our retreat path." The Defiant began to pull back, but slowly and in good order. As the Zephyrian ship pursued, human sensors analyzed every aspect of its design. The probes released by the Defiant attached themselves to the alien vessel's hull like tiny metal parasites, transmitting data even as the bioship's immune systems tried to dissolve them. Lieutenant Martinez watched his displays with growing excitement. "Captain, their regeneration systems show decreased efficiency when exposed to specific electromagnetic frequencies. Also, their bioplasma weapons have a reload time of approximately 43 seconds between full power shots." Sarah nodded. "Transmit all data to Fleet Command. Mark this as Priority Intelligence Package Alpha 1. The Zephyrian commander grew frustrated as the human ship continued its methodical retreat. He had expected either immediate surrender or a desperate last stand. Instead, these mammals were conducting what appeared to be a scientific study of his vessel. When he tried to close the distance for a killing blow, the human ship would accelerate just enough to stay out of range while continuing to scan his bio-ship. After 2 hours of this strange pursuit, Sarah received new orders from Earth. "Defiant, this is Admiral Rivera. Break contact and return to base. You have gathered sufficient intelligence for Phase 1 analysis." The human ship suddenly accelerated to its maximum speed and disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving the confused Zephyrian commander alone in empty space. He had won the encounter, but something felt wrong about the entire situation. Similar scenes played out across human space as the 5 alien empires sent their scouts forward. Each time, human ships would engage briefly, record everything they could, and then withdraw in good order. The aliens began to notice patterns in human behavior that troubled them. General Gorthek received reports from his war beast commanders with growing confusion. "The humans do not fight like prey," his chief lieutenant reported. They strike at specific points on our vessels, testing our defenses and recording our responses. When we pursue, they lead us through fields of sensor probes that analyze our bioships. The Korthic general snarled as he studied the tactical reports. His war beasts were living creatures, and the humans seemed to be studying their biology. Like scientists examining laboratory specimens, they treat our sacred war beasts like animals in a zoo. This is an insult that demands blood vengeance. But when Gorthic's fleets tried to catch the human ships for a proper battle, they discovered something disturbing. The mammals were learning faster than seemed possible. In the first encounters, human weapons had been completely ineffective against Korthic bio-armor. By the fifth engagement, human ships were using modified energy frequencies that actually caused pain to the war beasts. Commander Velturus of the Valdris received similar reports from his plasma ship captains. The humans have developed some kind of energy absorption technology, one captain reported. Their ships are now equipped with devices that can actually drain power from our plasma weapons during combat, the energy being flickered with annoyance. How had these primitive mammals learned to manipulate plasma fields in just 3 weeks of contact? His people had spent centuries perfecting their energy manipulation techniques, yet the humans were already finding ways to counter them, Nogue leader. Kasara experienced something even more disturbing. During the third encounter between Morvian ships and human vessels, the collective consciousness felt something it had never experienced before. The human ships had somehow generated an interference pattern that actually disrupted the hive mind connection between Morvian vessels. Impossible, Kasara spoke to herself, her voice carrying the confusion of billions of linked minds. The collective has never been disrupted by external forces. How do these isolated individuals understand our group consciousness better than species who have studied us for millennia? The most troubling reports came to strategist Thander from his Singularity ship commanders. Ancient One, his fleet admiral reported, the humans have begun using gravitational sensors we did not know existed. They can detect our approach before we exit faster than light travel. Moreover, they have developed some kind of gravitational dampening technology that reduces the effectiveness of our space-time weapons. Thander sat in his meditation chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing all the encounter reports. His ancient mind processed the information with growing concern. These humans were not just surviving first contact with superior alien technology, they were learning from it. How long since first contact? He asked his aide. 21 standard days, Ancient One. And in 21 days, they have developed countermeasures for technologies that took us millennia to perfect? Thander-esque glowing tattoos pulsed with agitation. Something is not right about this species. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Marcus Rivera stood in the center of the United Earth Defense Command's war room. Holographic displays surrounded him, showing tactical data from hundreds of encounters with the 5 alien empires. His staff of analysts, scientists, and engineers worked frantically to process the intelligence gathered by the outer patrols. "Report," Rivera commanded, his gravelly voice cutting through the noise of activity. Dr. Elizabeth Warren, the chief xenobiology specialist, stepped forward with a datapad. "Admiral, we've identified significant weaknesses in all 5 alien technologies. The Zephyrian bioships use electromagnetic signals to coordinate their regeneration. We can disrupt that with the right frequency modulation." Rivera nodded. "What about the Korthek?" "Their war beasts are living creatures with nervous systems. We've developed neural disruption fields that can cause disorientation and pain. We can also use pheromone scramblers to confuse their sensory systems." The Admiral turned to his chief physicist. "Dr. Park, what about the energy-based threats?" Dr. James Park consulted his tablet. "The Valdris plasma weapons rely on magnetic containment fields. We've designed field disruptors that can cause their weapons to overload. We're also working on energy absorption systems that can actually feed off their plasma discharges. The Morvians? Their hive mind uses quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication," Dr. Warren continued. "We found a way to generate Quantum interference patterns that can sever their collective consciousness temporarily. Rivera's expression grew grim. And the Thessians? Dr. Park's face was pale. Their singularity weapons are the most dangerous, but they're also the most unstable. We've identified gravitational resonance frequencies that can cause their black hole containment systems to fail catastrophically. The Admiral looked around the room at his team. How long until we can implement these countermeasures fleet-wide? 6 weeks for full implementation, his chief engineer reported. 2 weeks for basic systems on our primary defense vessels, Rivera calculated quickly in his head. The aliens will reach the inner system in approximately 8 weeks based on their current advance rate. That gives us just enough time. He paused, studying the tactical displays. But we need more intelligence. Continue the reconnaissance protocols. Every engagement must provide new data. Captain Chun received her new orders while the Defiant was docked at Luna Station for resupply. Her ship had been fitted with new sensor arrays and experimental weapon systems based on the intelligence she had gathered. As she prepared for another patrol mission, she reviewed the files on alien weaknesses that Earth's scientists had compiled. "This is incredible," Lieutenant Martinez said as he studied the tactical updates. 3 weeks ago, we didn't even know these aliens existed. Now we have detailed countermeasures for all their technologies. Sarah nodded, but her expression remained serious. "Don't get overconfident. We're still outnumbered and outgunned. These countermeasures will help, but we need to be smart about how we use them." The Defiant launched from Luna Station along with dozens of other human vessels, each one now equipped with weapons and defenses specifically designed to counter alien technologies. As they headed back toward the outer system, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in her species. Humanity might not have the most advanced technology in the galaxy, but they had something the aliens seemed to lack: the ability to learn and adapt. The aliens had expected to find primitive prey. Instead, they had encountered something far more dangerous, a species that could turn every encounter into a learning opportunity. With each engagement, humanity grew stronger while their enemies remained static in their arrogance. The real test would come when the alien fleets arrived in force. But thanks to the sacrifice and intelligence gathering of the outer patrols, humanity would be ready for them. The hunters were about to discover they had chosen the wrong prey. 8 weeks after first contact, the 5 alien fleets finally reached the edge of the Sol system. Each empire had brought their most powerful warships, confident that the conquest of humanity would be swift and decisive. Admiral Zixtara commanded 200 Zephyrian bioships, their living hulls pulsing with anticipation for battle. General Gorthek led 300 Korthik warbeasts, each one bred specifically for this campaign. Commander Veltras brought 150 Valdris plasma vessels that glowed like captured stars. Node leader Kesara directed 500 Morvian ships in perfect formation. Strategist Thander guided 100 Thessian dreadnoughts, their singularity drives bending space around them. The combined alien fleet was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Over 1,200 vessels carrying enough firepower to destroy entire star systems moved toward Earth with unstoppable momentum. The alien commanders expected to find a desperate human defense scattered around their homeworld. Instead, they discovered something that made them pause in confusion. The entire Sol system had been transformed into a fortress. Captain Torres of the Zephyrian scout vessel was the first to report the strange sight to Admiral Zixtara. "Admiral, the human system is not what our intelligence predicted. Every asteroid in the belt has been modified. There are weapon platforms around each planet. The third planet's moon appears to be one massive gun emplacement. Zixtara's compound." Eyes studied the sensor readings with growing disbelief. In just 8 weeks, the humans had turned their peaceful star system into a military stronghold. Asteroid mining stations had been converted into missile platforms. Orbital factories around Mars were now producing weapons instead of consumer goods. Jupiter's moons bristled with defensive installations. How did they accomplish this so quickly? She asked her tactical officer. "Unknown, Admiral." Our bioships detect massive energy signatures throughout the system. They have been working continuously since our first contact. General Gorthek received similar reports from his war beast scouts. The massive reptilian warrior slammed his fist against his command throne, leaving claw marks in the metal. Impossible! Prey animals cannot build defenses this extensive in such a short time. Are these readings accurate? His chief lieutenant, a scarred Gorthek veteran, nodded grimly. The humans have militarized their entire star system, General. Every space station, every orbital platform, every large asteroid has been weaponized. Our scouts count over 10,000 defensive positions. The Gorthek general's yellow eyes narrowed with suspicion. 10,000 positions? That is more firepower than most species possess in their entire fleet. Something is wrong here. Commander Velterus studied the energy readings from his plasma ship's advanced sensors. The levels of activity in the human system were extraordinary. These mammals have been working without rest, he reported to his fleet captains. Every industrial facility in their system has been converted to military production. They are not acting like a prey species. Node leader Kessara felt the collective consciousness of the Morvians analyzing the human defenses. Billions of linked minds worked together to process the tactical data, but even their combined intelligence was puzzled by what they observed. The collective cannot understand human behavior, she announced to her fleet commanders. Prey species should scatter when faced with superior predators. Instead, these mammals have gathered all their strength in one location. This violates all known patterns of prey animal responses. Strategist Thander was the most troubled by the human preparations. His ancient mind had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, and something about the human response felt familiar yet different. They are not behaving like a primitive species, he told his fleet admiral. This level of rapid militarization suggests either extensive preparation or remarkable adaptability. The 5 alien fleets formed up at the outer edge of the Sol system, just beyond the orbit of the 9th planet. Their commanders opened a joint communication channel to coordinate their attack. Each empire had planned to claim specific human worlds for themselves, but the unexpected defenses required new strategies. Admiral Zixthara spoke first, her buzzing voice carrying across the communication link. The human defenses are more extensive than anticipated, but they remain primitive. Bioship regeneration will overcome any damage their crude weapons can inflict. General Gorthek's growl echoed through the channel. My war beasts hunger for combat. These static defenses cannot maneuver like living ships. We will bite through their metal shells and feast on the soft mammals inside. Commander Velterus pulsed with confidence. Their energy output is still minimal compared to our plasma weapons. We can overload their defensive systems with concentrated fire. Node leader Kessara reported the collective's analysis. Human defensive positions show poor coordination. Each platform operates independently without proper hive mind integration. The collective will exploit this weakness. Strategist Thander remained silent, studying the human preparations with growing unease. Something about their defensive arrangement bothered him, though he could not identify the specific threat. The alien fleets began their advance into the Sol system, maintaining tight formation. They expected the humans to activate their defenses immediately, creating a massive battle around the outer planets. Instead, they encountered something completely unexpected. Silence. The human defensive platforms remained inactive as the alien fleets passed Jupiter's orbit. No missiles launched from the converted asteroids. No energy beams fired from the orbital stations. The entire human defense network seemed to be asleep. This is too easy, General Gorthek muttered, his predator instincts warning him of danger. Prey animals do not ignore approaching predators. Something is wrong. Admiral Zixthara was equally suspicious. Perhaps their weapons require closer range to be effective. Primitive technology often has limited range capabilities. As the alien fleets passed Mars, a few human defensive platforms did activate, but only to launch what appeared to be sensor probes. The small devices spread throughout the alien formations, scanning and recording but not attacking. Commander Veltris watched the probes with growing irritation. More of their intelligence-gathering tactics. These mammals seem obsessed with collecting data. The probes attach themselves to alien ships like metallic parasites, just as they had during the first contact encounters. But this time there were thousands of them, covering every vessel in the combined fleet. The aliens tried to destroy the probes with point defense weapons, but for every one they eliminated, 2 more took its place. Node leader Cassara felt the collective consciousness becoming agitated. These scanning devices are more sophisticated than expected. They are mapping our ships down to the molecular level. Within minutes, every alien vessel in the combined fleet had been thoroughly scanned by human probes. The devices recorded energy signatures, weapon configurations, shield frequencies, and even the biological patterns of living ships. All this data was transmitted back to Earth in real time? Strategist Thander finally understood what was happening. This is not a defensive strategy, he announced to the other commanders. This is a trap. Admiral Zixtara's mandibles clicked with impatience. Explain yourself, old one. How can scanning probes be a trap? They are not trying to stop us, Thander replied, his ancient voice heavy with concern. They are studying. Yes, every probe is gathering intelligence about our fleets. They want us to reach their homeworld. General Gorthek roared with laughter. Let them study us. What can prey animals learn that will help them against superior predators? My war beasts grow stronger with each passing moment. But Thander's warnings proved accurate as the alien fleets approached Earth's orbit. The human homeworld appeared to be completely defensible, surrounded by orbital platforms and defensive stations. The moon had been converted into a massive fortress, its surface covered with weapon emplacements and shield generators. Yet still the human defenses remained silent. Where are their ships? Commander Veltris asked, his energy form flickering with confusion. Intelligence reports indicated they possessed a space fleet. Are they hiding behind their planet like cowards? The answer came from an unexpected source. Earth itself began to change. What the aliens had assumed were defensive platforms around the planet started to move. Massive structures that appeared to be orbital factories opened like flower petals, revealing hidden launch bays inside. The planet's surface showed new activity as underground installations opened their blast doors. Admiral Zixtara realized with growing horror that they had been completely wrong about human preparations. Those are not defensive platforms. Those, are shipyards. The human fleet emerged not from hidden positions in space, but from Earth itself. Hundreds of vessels launched from orbital facilities that had been disguised as civilian installations. Underground bases on the planet's surface revealed launch shafts that extended deep into the planet's core. The moon opened massive hangar doors that had been concealed beneath fake crater surfaces. Within minutes, the human fleet had assembled in Earth's orbit. But these were not the same crewed vessels the aliens had encountered during first contact. These ships had been specifically designed and built during the 8 weeks since the initial encounters. General Gorthek studied the human vessels with a warrior's eye and felt his confidence begin to waver. These ships are different. They do not match our intelligence reports. The human fleet was organized into 5 distinct groups, each one configured differently. The aliens could see that each group had been designed with specific technologies and weapon systems. It was as if the humans had built separate fleets to fight each alien empire individually. Node leader Cassara felt the collective consciousness analyzing the human fleet with growing alarm. Impossible. They have developed countermeasures for our specific technologies. How do they know our weaknesses? Strategist Thander S. Worst. Fears were confirmed as he studied the human preparations. They have been studying us since first contact. Every engagement, every probe scan, every piece of intelligence they gathered has been used to build weapons specifically designed to counter our technologies. Commander Valteris pulsed with disbelief. No species has ever adapted this quickly to superior technology. It violates all known patterns of technological development. The human fleet moved into attack formation with precision that surprised the alien commanders. These were not the panicked movements of desperate prey animals. This was the coordinated advance of experienced predators who had prepared specifically for this moment. Admiral Rivera's voice echoed across all communication channels as the human fleet prepared for battle. "Attention, alien vessels. You came to our system expecting to find helpless prey. Instead, you have found predators who have spent 8 weeks learning everything about you. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, and your technologies better than you know them yourselves." The alien commanders felt a chill of fear as they realized the true scope of the human trap. They had brought their most powerful fleets to destroy a primitive species, only to discover that their prey had transformed into something far more dangerous. "You have made a fundamental error," Rivera continued. "You assume that superior technology makes you invincible. But technology is only as good as the intelligence that wields it. And intelligence, adaptation, and the willingness to learn from your enemies are humanity's greatest weapons." As the human fleet completed its deployment, the aliens realized they were no longer the hunters, they had become the hunted. The battle for Earth was about to begin, but the outcome was no longer certain. The aliens had superior numbers and more advanced technology, but the humans had something their enemies had forgotten: the ability to turn every weakness into a strength and every defeat into a lesson. The greatest predators in the galaxy were about to learn why underestimating humanity was the deadliest mistake they could make. The battle began when Admiral Rivera gave the signal from the bridge of the UES Indomitable. His command ship was humanity's first true dreadnought, built specifically for this moment. Around him, the human fleet moved with deadly precision toward the alien formations. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega," Rivera commanded. "Remember, each group knows their target. Stick to your assignments and trust your equipment." The human fleet split into 5 separate attack groups, each one heading toward a different alien empire's ships. The aliens watched this division with confusion. Why would the humans split their smaller force against superior numbers? Admiral Zixthara was the first to understand when the human ships designated as Group Alpha approached her bioships. "All vessels, prepare for combat. Show these mammals the power of hegemony biotechnology." The Zephyrian bioships opened fire with their living weapons. Streams of bioplasma shot toward the approaching human vessels, expecting to overwhelm their primitive shields. But something went wrong immediately as the bioplasma struck the human ships. The energy was absorbed instead of causing damage. The human vessels had been equipped with bioenergy absorption fields that actually fed off the Zephyrian weapons. Worse, the human ships began broadcasting a specific electromagnetic frequency that made the bioships convulse in pain. "Impossible!" Zixthara screamed as her flagship's living hull began to spasm. "How do they know our bioelectric frequencies?" Captain Martinez, now commanding his own ship in Group Alpha, smiled grimly as he watched the Zephyrian bioships writhing. "In space, fire biodisruptor weapons. Target their regeneration centers." The human weapons sent focused electromagnetic pulses into the bioships' healing systems. Instead of regenerating damage, the alien vessels began to attack their own living tissue. The bioships' immune systems turned against themselves, dissolving armor and weapons as their confused biology tried to fight an enemy that was not there. Zixthara watched in horror as her bioships began to die around her. "Retreat! All ships, retreat! The humans have turned our regeneration against us." But the human ships were faster than expected. They had been built with enhanced engines specifically to chase down bioships. As the Zephyrians tried to flee, human vessels pursued them, broadcasting the bio-disruption frequency and picking off the crippled alien ships one by one. General Gorthek faced his own nightmare as Group Beta engaged his war beasts. The massive Gorthek general had expected his living ships to tear through human hulls with teeth and claws. Instead, his war beasts began attacking each other in a frenzy of confusion. "What is happening to my beasts?" Gorthek roared as he watched 2 of his finest warships biting each other's armor plating. The answer came from the human ships. which were broadcasting scrambled pheromone signals that confused the war beast's primitive nervous systems. The living ships could no longer tell friend from enemy. Their sensory organs detected threats everywhere, causing them to lash out at anything nearby. Commander Sarah Chun, now leading a squadron in Group Beta, watched with satisfaction as the Korthek war beasts turned on each other. Deploy neural disruptors. Let's give them something real to be confused about. The human weapons sent focused neural interference patterns into the war beast's brain tissues. The living ships began to experience sensory overload, their primitive minds unable to process the conflicting signals. Some war beasts began spinning in circles, chasing their own tails like confused animals. Others simply stopped moving, their nervous systems shutting down from overstimulation. General Gorthik tried to regain control of his fleet, but his command signals were being jammed by human interference systems. My war beasts cannot hear me. How do these mammals know our communication frequencies? The Korthik general's confusion turned to rage as he realized his mighty fleet was being defeated by their own biology. The humans had studied the war beasts during first contact and learned to manipulate their primitive nervous systems better than the Korthik themselves. Commander Velturus faced an equally devastating attack from Group Gamma, the Valdris plasma. Ships had always been confident in their energy-based weapons and defenses, but as they engaged the human vessels, their plasma containment fields began to destabilize. Our weapons are overloading, one of his captains reported in panic. The humans are generating some kind of magnetic interference. The human ships were equipped with field disruptors that caused the Valdris plasma weapons to turn against themselves. Instead of firing controlled energy beams, the alien ships began leaking plasma in all directions. Their own weapons became hazards as uncontrolled. Energy discharge damaged their hulls. Velturus tried to retreat to a safe distance, but the human ships followed with energy absorption arrays that actually drained power from the Valdris vessels. They are feeding off our energy, he realized with growing horror. How is this possible? Dr. Park's research had paid off perfectly. The human ships could absorb plasma energy and convert it into power for their own systems. The longer the battle continued, the stronger the human vessels became while the Valdris ships grew weaker. As Valdris plasma ships began to lose containment completely, they started imploding from their own uncontrolled energy. The beautiful beings of pure light found themselves trapped in failing force fields as their ships collapsed around them. Node leader Kisara experienced something no Morvian had ever felt before: isolation. As Group Delta engaged her fleet, the human ships began broadcasting quantum interference patterns that severed the connections between Morvian vessels. For the first time in her species' history, individual Morvian ships were cut off from the collective consciousness. Without the hive mind to coordinate their actions, the Morvian formations fell apart into chaos. The collective is broken. Kisara screamed, her voice carrying the panic of billions of suddenly isolated minds. We cannot hear each other. We are alone? The human weapons had found a way to disrupt quantum entanglement itself. Each Morvian ship was now fighting as an individual instead of as part of a coordinated swarm. Without their collective intelligence, the aliens made basic tactical errors that the humans exploited ruthlessly. Morvian ships began colliding with each other as their perfect formations dissolved into random movement. Captains who had never made independent decisions in their lives found themselves unable to coordinate with nearby vessels. The mighty Morvian swarm became a confused mob of individual ships stumbling around in space. Strategist Thander faced the most terrifying attack of all from Group Epsilon. The ancient Theshan had survived countless battles over millennia, but he had never encountered anything like the human assault on his singularity ships. Ancient One, his fleet admiral reported with fear in his voice. The humans are generating gravitational resonance frequencies. Our black hole containment systems are becoming unstable. Thander felt true terror for the first time in centuries as he realized what the humans were doing. They had learned to manipulate gravity itself, turning the Theshan's most powerful weapons into bombs that could destroy their own ships. Emergency protocols, Feinder commanded. Shut down all singularity drives before they go critical. But it was too late. The human gravitational weapons caused the carefully contained black holes to begin spinning out of control. Vesha ships that had ruled the galaxy for millennia found their own power sources becoming unstable. Space-time itself began to warp around the failing containment systems. Several Veshan dreadnoughts simply vanished as their singularity drives collapsed into uncontrolled black holes. Others were torn apart by gravitational forces they could no longer control. The ancient Veshan Empire's greatest technological achievement had become their downfall. As the battle raged across the Sol system, the 5 alien empires realized they were not just losing individual engagements. They were losing the war itself. The humans had not only countered their technologies, but had turned their greatest strengths into fatal weaknesses. But Admiral Rivera was not finished. From his command ship, he activated the final phase of humanity's battle plan. All groups, initiate Deception Protocol 7. Show them what we learned about fighting together. The human ships suddenly began displaying false identification signals and energy signatures. Ships from Group Alpha started broadcasting Korthak biosignatures while firing biodisruptor weapons. Group Beta vessels began emitting Valdris energy patterns while using neural jammers. The aliens found themselves unable to tell human ships from their own allies. The confusion spread through the alien fleets as friendly fire incidents erupted everywhere. Zephyrian bioships attacked what they thought were Korthak war beasts but were actually human vessels in disguise. Valdris plasma ships fired on fake Morvian formations that turned out to be their own allies. The 5 empires who had never truly learned to fight together as a unified force began to suspect each other of treachery. Ancient rivalries and mistrust surfaced as each empire blamed the others for the battlefield confusion. The Korthak are firing on our bioships. Admiral Zixthara screamed over the communication channels. The Valdris betrayed us. General Korthak roared back. Their plasma weapons are targeting my war beasts. The Morvians have turned against the Alliance. Commander Veltrus accused as his ships came under attack from what appeared to be Morvian vessels. The human deception tactics worked perfectly because they exploited the aliens' fundamental weakness, their inability to truly cooperate. Each empire had always fought independently, using their own unique technologies and tactics. They had never learned to integrate their forces or coordinate their strategies effectively. As the alien fleets dissolved into chaos and mutual suspicion, the human ships pressed their advantage. They had studied not only each empire's technology but also their psychology and social structures. The humans understood that the 5 empires were allies of convenience, not true partners. Admiral Rivera watched the tactical displays with grim satisfaction as the alien fleets began to retreat in 5 different directions. Each empire was abandoning their allies to save themselves. The mighty coalition that had seemed unstoppable just hours ago was falling apart from internal distrust and human manipulation. All groups pursue and harass but do not completely destroy, Rivera commanded. We want survivors to carry word back to their empires. Let them tell the galaxy what happens to those who underestimate humanity. The Battle of Sol was ending, not with humanity's destruction, but with the most powerful military force in galactic history fleeing in complete defeat. The humans had turned the aliens' technological superiority against them and exploited their inability to work together as effectively as humanity could. The 5 alien empires had come to Earth expecting to crush a primitive species. Instead, they had encountered something far more dangerous, a race that could learn from their enemies, faster than their enemies could adapt to them, as the alien fleets limped away from the Sol system. Their commanders knew they would have to report the unthinkable to their home governments. Humanity was not prey. They were the new apex predators in a galaxy that would never underestimate them again. The silence that followed the Battle of Sol was unlike anything the galaxy had ever experienced. In the depths of space around Earth, the wreckage of what had once been the most powerful military force in known history drifted slowly among the stars. Broken bioships leaked their life fluids into the vacuum. destroyed war beasts floated like dead animals. Plasma residue from failed Valdris vessels created colorful clouds of dissipating energy. Morvian ship fragments spun without coordination. Veshan vessels that had imploded into their own black holes left only gravitational distortions to mark their passing. Admiral Rivera stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the tactical displays as his fleet maintained defensive positions around Earth. The human vessels had taken damage during the battle, but they remained operational and ready for continued combat. More importantly, they had proven something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. "Damage report, Rivera," commanded, his voice calm despite the magnitude of what had just occurred. Commander Torres, who had transferred from the outer patrol ships to serve as Rivera's tactical officer, consulted her displays. Total casualties: 43 ships damaged, 12 ships destroyed, 896 personnel lost. Enemy casualties: approximately 60% of their combined fleet destroyed or disabled, Rivera nodded grimly. The human losses were significant, but they were nothing compared to the devastation inflicted on the alien coalition. More importantly, the surviving human ships were stronger now than when the battle began, having absorbed energy from enemy weapons and gained combat experience against superior technology. "Status of the enemy fleets?" Rivera asked. "All 5 empires are in full retreat," Torres reported. "The Zephyrians have lost 70% of their bioships. The Korthak Warbeast fleet is down to less than 30% strength. The Valdris formation has been reduced to scattered individual vessels. The Morvian collective appears to be completely broken, with ships fleeing in random directions. The Veshan fleet has suffered catastrophic losses to their singularity ship technology." But Rivera knew that the true victory was not measured in ships destroyed or enemies killed. The real triumph was in what humanity had demonstrated to the galaxy. They had faced the combined might of 5 advanced civilizations and not only survived, but won decisively through intelligence, adaptation, and unity. In the command center of her damaged bioship, Admiral Zixthara stared at the tactical displays with compound eyes that no longer reflected confidence. Her flagship was barely functional, its living hull scarred by bio-disruptor weapons that had turned its own regeneration systems into instruments of self-destruction. Around her, the remnants of the Zephyrian hegemony's proud fleet limped through space toward the edge of the Sol system. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked her surviving officers. 62 bioships, still capable of faster-than-light travel," her tactical officer reported, his buzzing voice filled with defeat. "The rest are either destroyed or too damaged to leave this system." Zixthara's mandibles clicked together in a gesture of profound disbelief. The hegemony had ruled the Eastern Spiral Arm for 3,000 years. Their bioships had been considered the pinnacle of living technology, capable of healing any damage and adapting to any threat. But the humans had found a way to turn that very adaptability into a fatal weakness. "These mammals studied us," she said quietly. "They learned our biology better than we know it ourselves. In 8 weeks, they discovered vulnerabilities that our scientists had not identified in millennia of research." Her communications officer suddenly looked up from his station. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the human flagship." On the main display, Admiral Rivera's face appeared. The human looked tired but resolute, his gray hair and weathered, features giving him the appearance of a seasoned warrior who had seen too many battles. "Admiral Zixthara," Rivera said, his voice carrying across the communication channel with surprising respect. "I am Admiral Marcus Rivera of the United Earth Defense Fleet. I want to speak with all 5 of your fleet commanders." Within minutes, the other alien leaders had joined the communication link. General Gorthek appeared with visible wounds on his scaled hide, his yellow eyes dim with defeat. Commander Velterus flickered weakly, his energy form unstable from the plasma weapon failures. Node leader Kessara looked lost and confused, cut off from the collective consciousness for the first time in her existence. Strategist Thander seemed to have aged decades in the last few hours. His ancient features heavy with the weight of unprecedented failure, Rivera looked at each of them in turn before speaking. You came to our system with the intention of conquest. You expected to find a primitive species that would offer little resistance to your superior technology. Instead, you discovered something your civilizations had forgotten how to do. And what is that, human? Thander asked, his voice carrying the weariness of millennia. You forgot how to learn from your enemies, Rivera replied. Your species have become so confident in your technological superiority that you stopped adapting, stopped growing, stopped preparing for opponents who might think differently than you do. General Gorthik snarled weakly. Your weapons were designed specifically to counter our technologies. How did you develop such countermeasures so quickly? Rivera's expression remained calm, because we did something you did not expect. Instead of fighting you when we were weak, we retreated and studied you when you were confident. Every engagement during first contact was a learning opportunity. Every scan, every probe, every tactical withdrawal gave us more information about your capabilities and weaknesses. Commander Velterus flickered with what might have been admiration. You turned your apparent weakness into your greatest strength. We saw retreat as cowardice, but it was actually intelligence gathering. Exactly, Rivera confirmed. But more than that, you made a fundamental error in understanding what makes humanity dangerous. You assumed that our lack of advanced technology made us inferior, but technology is just a tool. The intelligence that wields the tool is what matters. Node leader Kesara spoke for the first time since the collective consciousness had been broken. Your species fights as individuals, yet you coordinate better than our hive mind. How is this possible? Rivera smiled slightly. Because we choose to work together. Your collective consciousness is forced unity. Our cooperation is voluntary, which makes it stronger. We can think independently and then choose to combine our efforts for a common goal. Admiral Zixvara realized something that chilled her to her core. You have been studying not just our technology, but our psychology, our social structures, our weaknesses as civilizations? Yes, Rivera admitted. We learned that the 5 empires have never truly fought together before. You are allies of convenience, not true partners. You do not trust each other, and you do not understand how to integrate your different approaches to warfare. We exploited that division. The alien commanders fell silent as they absorbed the implications of Rivera's words. They had been defeated not just militarily, but intellectually and socially. The humans had understood them better than they understood themselves. Thander spoke slowly, his ancient voice heavy with newfound respect. What are your terms, Admiral Rivera? Do you demand our unconditional surrender? Rivera was quiet for a moment, considering his response carefully. We could demand that, and you would have no choice but to accept. Your fleets are broken, your coordination destroyed, your confidence shattered, but that is not what humanity wants. Then what do you want? General Gorthik asked suspiciously. We want you to leave our space and never return with hostile intent, Rivera said firmly. We want you to spread word throughout the galaxy that humanity is not prey. We are not primitives, to be conquered or resources to be exploited. We are a species that learns, adapts, and grows stronger from every challenge. Commander Velterus pulsed weakly. And if we refuse these terms? Rivera's expression hardened. Then we will hunt down every ship in your retreating fleets and demonstrate that our victory here was not luck. We have captured examples of all your technologies. We can build counters for anything you develop. More importantly, we can build improved versions of your own weapons. The threat was clear and backed by demonstrated capability. The humans had not just defeated the alien technologies, they had mastered them. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted permanently. There is something else you should know, Rivera continued. This battle has been recorded and transmitted to every human colony and outpost. Our entire species has seen what happened here. They know that we can stand against any threat. But more than that, other species in the galaxy have been watching. 2. Node leader Kesara's isolated mind struggled to process this information. Other species? The ones you have conquered and enslaved over the centuries, Rivera explained. They have seen the mighty empires of the galaxy defeated by a species they barely knew existed. Word is already spreading that the 5 great powers are not invincible. Admiral Zixthara understood the full implications immediately. Rebellion. Our subject species will see this as proof that we can be defeated. Perhaps, Rivera acknowledged. That depends on how you choose to rule them going forward. But that is not humanity's concern. Our concern is ensuring that this invasion never happens again. The 5 alien commanders exchanged glances, each one realizing that their defeat at Sol was just the beginning of their problems. They would return to their empires as the leaders who had suffered the greatest military defeat in galactic history. Their subject species would question their authority. Their enemies would sense weakness. The political consequences would last. For generations, strategist Thander made the decision for all of them. We accept your terms, Admiral Rivera. The 5 empires will withdraw from human space and recognize your sovereignty. We will not return with hostile intent, Rivera nodded. Good, but understand this. Humanity is no longer hiding on the edges of the galaxy. We will expand, we will explore, and we will establish ourselves as a major power. When we do, we expect to be treated with the respect due to equals, not the contempt shown to primitives. As the communication ended, the alien fleets began their long journey home. They left behind more than wreckage and casualties. They left behind their certainty that advanced technology guaranteed victory. They had learned that there were forces in the universe more powerful than plasma cannons and singularity weapons. Intelligence, adaptability, and the will to survive. Admiral Rivera remained on his bridge for hours after the last alien ship disappeared from sensors. Around him, his crew worked to coordinate rescue operations and assess the battle damage. But Rivera's thoughts were on the future. Humanity had won a great victory, but they had also announced themselves to a galaxy full of potential threats and opportunities. Sir, Commander Torres said, approaching with a datapad, we have received communications from 17 different species congratulating us on our victory. Apparently, news of the battle has spread faster than we expected. Rivera took the pad and scanned the messages. Some were from species that had been conquered by the 5 empires. Others were from independent civilizations that had been living in fear of eventual invasion. All of them expressed amazement and gratitude that someone had finally stood up to the galactic bullies. Prepare a response, Rivera ordered. Tell them that humanity stands ready to work with all peaceful species toward mutual prosperity and security, but also make it clear that we will defend ourselves and our allies against any aggression. As the Sol system returned to peace, humanity began the work of establishing themselves as a major galactic power. They had proven that intelligence and determination could overcome superior technology. They had shown that unity and cooperation was stronger than forced compliance. Most importantly, they had demonstrated that underestimating humanity was the deadliest mistake any species could make. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of the 5 great empires was ending, and the age of humanity had begun.